guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm so excited that you guys are here to join me. Today we are going to be discussing everything there is to discuss about friendships, but we're mainly going to be talking about when do we know when to start and end a friendship, and what is the purpose of that? Why do we leave friendships and why do we come back? I hope you guys enjoy this. Remember, if you like what you see, like, subscribe, comment on anything you see, and hit the notification bell so you know every time I post a video. Let's get into this. So I'm pulling my makeup out, and the first thing I want to say is, when we're talking about ending friendships, reconciling friendships, it's so important for us to understand time and season. The Word of God teaches us that for everything under the sun, there is a time, there is a season, there is an appointed date for it to happen. And so that's not only for things to begin, but that's also for things to end. So the first thing I think it's important that we recognize is that all things are not meant to last forever. When you grasp that concept, you'll be free from a lot of confusion, a lot of guilt, a lot of feeling like you cannot detach from people, and a lot of feeling really bad when people detach from you. I was actually watching a video myself last night, and Ashley Devon, I don't know if you guys watch her, but she said something that really stuck with me. She said, we have to stop acting like we've lost out or other people have lost out when we exit their life. When you leave somebody's life, they're not always necessarily losing anything. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes they lost, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's simply, this is what I needed to give you. This is what you needed to give me. We've done that. The time is over. We're moving on. I don't have to dislike you. I don't have to hate you. I don't have to be angry with you, but we don't have to be best friends or friends at all. Time and seasons. When you get that, letting go, starting over, all of that, you will see the beauty in it. In understanding time and seasons, we also have to understand that sometimes there are breaks between seasons. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is never going to be back in your life, but for this specific point in both of you all's lives, it may just not be best for you guys to be connected to one another. We all have those seasons that we kind of have to go through by ourselves and do our own thing. And not only do we disconnect from people, but we may not be like as connected as we normally would be with them. We may not be communicating with them as much, or we may completely stop communicating with certain people. And usually that's nothing personal towards the person. That just is personal for you. You're going through a time where you just kind of need to do your own thing and deal with what you have going on. And then we have those other times where we separate from people, or we get upset, and we think, okay, I'm completely ending this friendship. I'm over it. You know, I'm giving up. I'm quitting. I'm tired of it. But then God is like, see, you did that, but I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't give you permission to do that. You moved outside of me on that one. And so now I need you to go back. I need you to fix it and make it right. And y'all need to be friends again. So yeah, there are just so many different scenarios. And then there's those people, you know, I'm done, you done, we done. That's it. I don't want to talk. We done. So yeah, those are all of the scenarios. Now, determining which one applies to your situation, that's personal for you. You're gonna have to do it on a case-by-case basis. You're gonna have to seek God whenever you feel like it may be time to end a friendship. And this is not only for ending friendships, this is for starting friendships. You want to make sure that you are seeking God before you allow people into your life and people into your personal space, because everyone that comes into your life has the potential to be a distraction and to shift your focus away from the things that God has you focus on. Every single person can be that. And some people the enemy sends, we're talking about platonic relationships, we're talking about any type of romantic relationships, any type of relationship. The person has the potential, and you have the potential to be for them simply a distraction. So we have to seek God to be sure about purpose. That's one thing. There always needs to be purpose whenever you are beginning a new relationship or a new friendship, because if not, it can be a distraction or a disaster. If there's no purpose, it's either going to be a distraction or a disaster, or one and the same. So yeah, that's important. When you seek God beforehand, you avoid a lot of situations that you may not have had to deal with. But now, so let's talk about when it is time to leave that friendship. How do we handle that? What do we do? So I've done it a couple of different ways. I've done the ghost you. You know what you did wrong. I don't have anything to say to you. You don't have anything to say to me. You don't have to hear from me. I don't have to hear from you. We done. I've done the send you the long text message and let you know every single reason why I don't feel like we need to be friends anymore. And I've also done the, okay, let's sit down and talk about it. What do you think? What do I think? Okay, cool. Some people say you shouldn't completely ghost people, that you should give them an explanation. Somebody told me a long time ago, when someone has done something wrong, they know what they did. You don't have to continue, especially if you had a conversation about it before. You don't have to continue over and over and over again saying the same thing to the same person about what they did wrong. That is exhausting. When you do something wrong, you feel it in your chest. And when you don't, and somebody brings it up and you really care about that person, you're going to change your ways. You're going to try not to do that anymore to offend them or to hurt them or whatever you're doing. You're going to be more considerate the next time you're in a situation like that. So, I'm always torn between that. I'm always torn between people know what they did wrong, and I'm going to let you know so you don't think that I'm just cutting you off because of this one something, or I just randomly decided to cut you off. I think, once again, it's one of those things where you seek God, and it goes case by case. For me, it's always really difficult to end friendships because my friends are it's like my friends are family. I don't have two separate categories. If you're my friend, you're my family. And so I love really, really, really hard. And so when I have to not stop loving somebody, but when I have to stop showing love to someone, or when I have to disconnect from someone that I love and that I enjoy showing love to, it's very hard for me, and it's heartbreaking. It's kind of like this food is really good, but it's bad for my health. And so even though this food tastes really good and it would give me joy to eat this food, I have to think about the long-term effects that this food is going to have on my body. And so we have to think about friendships like that. You guys may have fun together, but it's does the good outweigh the bad? And then when you think about long-term, how is this benefiting your mental health? How is this friendship truly affecting you? Are these people enabling you to do things that you said that you no longer want to do? Or are they pushing you more in the direction of where you really want to go in life and who you really want to become? Really, when I've ended friendships, is because I feel like I'm growing and I'm trying to go in this direction that would be good for both of us to go in. And you are stuck in your ways and you're staying the same. Or either I feel like you did some underhanded, shady stuff and I'm not with it. Because if anyone knows me, y'all know, once I get a vibe where I feel like, for example, when you stop being friends with people, and then they send you this long message about all this stuff. You're this, you're that. I don't like you. Blah, 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 blah. Coming attacking your character. I feel like when somebody attacks your character, that's not a friend. That's me. That's how I feel. That's just that. Because at the end of the day, a real friend is going to tell you about it in the moment. They're going to be like, you know what? You do this and you might want to work on that. They're not going to wait until y'all are heated and y'all are mad at one another to just start coming for you when your whole life and tearing you down. I don't care what nobody say. I don't think that's a friend. I don't think you've ever been a friend if you do that. Those are the two things. If I feel like I'm growing in a direction and I'm trying to take you there with me, or I'm trying, I want us to grow together and you're not growing and it's holding me back, or you're growing in a direction that's away from me, then it's not going to work. If you come for me and you attack my character, it's not gonna work. I'm not saying that I'm not willing to reconcile with these people, but what I'm saying is, in that moment, you can't be in my life. You don't deserve to be in my life. Obviously, you have no respect for me if you're attacking my character, and you're a hindrance if I'm trying to grow, and you are coming against everything that I'm trying to grow towards. For example, one time I had someone, and no examples I give, like all of this stuff, we're gonna get to it, but all of this stuff is irrelevant to me at this point in my life, but I'm giving you guys examples so you understand what I'm talking about. But I had a friend one time who would use the B word, and so she would call me that, and personally I didn't really do that. So like, it was cool because I'm like, okay, I understand who you are. Like, that's just what you do. It's cool. So one day, I started to grow, and I started just shifting in my relationship with God, and the things that I tolerated, the things that I didn't tolerate, the things that I would be around, the things that I didn't want to be around. And one day I was just like, don't call me that. Like she turned around, she called me that. I said, don't call me that. Like, and so she got so mad and went off. You think you're this, you think you're better than everybody, you turn your nose up at people. I'm like, first of all, this is my natural face, girl. Like, I'm sorry. Somebody took a video of me a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really look at people like that? So if I've ever looked at you like that, it's not personal. Anyway, she was like, you turn your nose up at people, rah, 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 he. And I'm like, girl, I love you to death, but at the end of the day, you really just came for me because I asked you, because I felt disrespected by something you said to me, and I asked you not to say it. You come for me. That doesn't work for me. Those have always been the biggest issues for me. Like, if I set a new boundary and you are not willing to respect that boundary, then you gotta go. That's what it's like when we're talking about, ending friendships. How do we do it? Those are the ways that we do it. We pick, But I think the healthiest way is for you guys to talk and really just like figure out where the other person is coming from. I know that in those times I needed to sharply, abruptly end those friendships. Now I handle it a little bit differently. A couple months ago, I kind of separated. Well, I separated from a couple friends, and one of them, it was just, all right, I see how you moving. You keep moving like that, and I'm gonna move over here out your way. And then the other one, I'm gonna talk about it. We haven't talked yet because I just wasn't ready, but we're gonna talk about it. And this is a friendship that could possibly be rekindled. I wouldn't even say it's done for. I would just say it's on the back burner. So that's what I mean when I say it's case by case. Now let's talk about rekindling friendships and how we do it. Again, case by case basis. Again, you have to be led by God, and you have to know you can't just miss a person and decide to rekindle the friendship, because when they go back to doing the same things that they were already doing before, it's not like you're going to end up in the same situation. So number one, you have to make sure that you have forgiven them for anything that they did wrong to you, and vice versa. Make sure that if you did anything to them, they've forgiven you. And also, both parties have to see where they were wrong. If something goes wrong, I do believe that sometimes it is just one person. So don't let nobody tell you, oh, well, anytime something goes wrong, both people played a part in it. I don't agree with that. Some people can just be trifling. So yeah, whoever did wrong, or if you both did wrong to each other, you have to make sure that, number one, you've expressed to them how you feel and you have not left anything out. Because then you go into the friendship in shadows, and then that is bound to come out later, and that's not going to work. So make sure that you express all of your feelings to them, and then make sure that you guys have really had time to heal and forgive one another. Because even if you are rekindling, if it starts off broken, you guys are going to have a broken friendship, and it's going to seem like the same thing that it's always been, and you're going to end up back at square one, not being friends, or even worse, hating one another. So once you have recognized that they see potential for you to rekindle the friendship, and you guys have talked about everything and laid everything on the table, and then you guys are sure that you have forgiven each other for all of these things and you're willing to move forward, what do we do now? So she said, where do you go from here? How does it start over? Are there boundaries, and why start again? Ooh. So let's talk about why we're starting again, because I kind of skipped over that, I guess. Why are you starting again? Because like I said, sometimes it's simply the season that one or both of you are in that keeps you separate from one another. And so we know that there are times and seasons, and so seasons change, and that person is not the same person. The word of God says every day in Christ we're a new creature. And so if they're in Christ and they should be growing continuously every day, and so they're not the same person that they were yesterday, let alone when you all stop being friends. You guys are two different people. You've grown, and maybe the better qualities about you guys have come to the forefront, and some of those qualities that weren't so great before, that didn't really work for you before, are the ones that got left behind. And so that's why we rekindle again, because we grow, and we enter into new seasons, and the things that hindered us in prior seasons will no longer hinder us in seasons to come. But then you have those people that haven't quite started growing yet, and so that's why we don't rekindle with some people, because we just are on two completely different paths. And not only it doesn't just mean that they haven't started growing, but it could also mean that they're growing down a different path than you. And like I said, some people are just not meant to be in your life forever. So that's why we rekindle or don't rekindle. Okay, let's hit up her next question. Thank you for these questions, Jada, because ain't know where this was going, girl. How does it start over? We just talked about that. So we want to make sure we both are in agreement, interested in starting over. But I think first you got to lay everything on the table. Then forgive, because we always want to forgive. Then decide if you guys want to start over. And we just talked about why. And then how does it start over? Oh, are there any boundaries? And are there any boundaries? And where do you go from here? Whew, boundaries. I'm a person, I can kind of keep my guard up. And so like once you've hurt me in the past, once you've shown me that you are a certain person, I've learned that I have a hard time accepting that, like I just said, every day people can be new. People are new, have the opportunity to be new. But I have a hard time making that a reality. It's one thing for me to sit here and say, yeah, every day people are new. And then they come back into my life and they're looking at me sideways, or I think they're looking at me sideways, and I'm still looking at them crazy like, don't try me again because I'll cut you off again. So boundaries. I definitely think that it is necessary to have boundaries, because sometimes, even though we can be led by God, we still do not have the mind of God. We can be wrong. So I think it's safe to set boundaries in the beginning, but I think you both need to like talk about that as well. Like, you know, I'm setting this boundary and this is why I'm setting it. Don't just have this hidden boundary and then they cross it and they not know that they crossed it, but they didn't even mean any harm. But you can't have expectations and not let someone know what those expectations are. You can't have boundaries and not let someone know what those boundaries are, because they can unintentionally cross them, and then it's like you're all upset thinking that they don't respect you and they don't care about you when they didn't mean any harm by it. So what are some boundaries that we would set? Oh gosh, what are some boundaries that we should set when rekindling a friendship? I don't think you should go back into a friendship telling them all of your business, telling them everything, all of the details of your life. I think that yes, you can forgive people. Yes, you can accept them back into your life. But I think that it takes time to regain trust. And I think you need to give that, like, you need to let time do its job. Like, don't just rush, because they may not be ready. And then what if they decide, what if you guys start being friends and then they decide, you know what, this doesn't really work for me. So I think make sure it's going to work, because like I said, you know, you are a different person. And so even though you think, hey, yeah, we can be friends again, when you actually start trying to do it, it might not work out. So I think the number one boundary should just be time, like not moving too fast, just like in a relationship, you know, letting time do its job and making sure that you guys are really meant to be friends and are really going to work out as friends. The boundaries, once again, depend on the specific relationship, because what works for some people may not work for others, and what seems realistic for some people may not be realistic for others. So where do we go from here? I think you let the friendship flow naturally. Don't try to force anything, and let go of what it used to be, and accept the fact that this is a new beginning for the two of you. That you guys are starting a new journey and a new season together. I think that's one of the most important things, because your friendship may not feel like it did before, but it still can be one of the most beautiful things. And why should we reconcile? And one, because God calls us to reconcile. He says that even before you bring your offering or before you bring your gift to me, I want you to be reconciled to your brother and your sister. If you have any aught against them, if you have anything against them, I don't even want anything from you if you can't forgive them. And be reconciled to them. So that's another reason that we want to make sure that we forgive, and sometimes we reconcile. I don't think that you always, accept people back into that close, intimate space. But, you don't want to be on bad terms with anybody and be out here hating anybody. You don't want to have that in your heart. All right, so we got our brows together. After all this time, all I did was my brows. Crazy. So yeah, we're gonna hop into another sector of this conversation, but before we do that, I wanted to talk about the need to classify friendships. So everyone is not going to be your best friend. Everyone's not going to be your best friend. Everybody's not going to be the friend that you can always call, or you can always hang out with, or that's just always going to answer the phone. Like, when I think about my friends, I have so many different types of friends, and you'll probably hear me calling a lot of them my best friends, because a lot of them really are, but just in different ways. And if they are your best friend, they're not all gonna be your best friend in the same way. For example, I can name my friends and talk about them. So Jamerica and I, that's my best friend. Like, period, point blank, that's my best friend. We don't talk every day or even every week. Sometimes we may not talk for the whole month. But at the end of the day, like, our relationship stays the same. She's still always there through everything. If I need to call her, if I need to talk about something, and vice versa, like, we're always there. And so that, like, that's that. Her and Jay are that way. So then I have other friends, like, and if I don't mention somebody, it's just because they're not an example for this. So, but then I have other friends like Destiny, best friend. Like, best friend. And my friends already know where they fit in my life, so none of this is gonna offend them. But that's my best friend. But if I don't talk to her for like within the course of 2 days, I'm like, hey, I'm about to drive to Birmingham. What's up? So we talk pretty much every day, and if we don't talk every day, we talk at least once a week, and that's like when we're just either busy or kind of have like our own stuff going on. We only talk once a week, but normally we are in constant communication. And then I have friends like Maya. Hey girl. Maya and I, since we've both moved away, now when I was in Jackson, I saw Maya, Kayla and Jada too much, because I was always staying with them. But since we've moved away, Maya and I talk like every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, and it's not always like, sometimes she'll call me and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I haven't talked to Maya, let me call her. We actually talked yesterday, I think, or the day before. But yeah, so like, we we check in, and we're like, okay, give me the rundown, what's up? And then I have those people that I see every day, and I talk to them every day. And so yeah, all friendships are classified differently, and not only based on communication, but based on level of exposure. How much of yourself are you comfortable exposing to this person? It doesn't mean they're not your friend. It just means that you don't want to tell them all of your business, or you don't want to tell them this specific thing because you may not feel comfortable talking to them about that specific thing. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses, and I think when we acknowledge that when thinking of our friends and friendships, and we recognize that all of my friendships and all of my friends don't have to look the same, then, you know, we have a lot healthier friendships, and we're able to form relationships with more people. Because like, and then I have guy friends, they're even classified differently. Like I have guy friends like Markel and Kyron that I talk to pretty much every single day. Then going back to Jay, we don't talk every day, but he's gonna check on me and I'm gonna check on him. And then Dre and I are kind of like Maya and I, so we'll talk every couple weeks. You know, we're making sure that we check in. So yeah, just learn how to classify your friendships. And one thing I'm a fan of is, I used to not even believe that people of the opposite sex could be friends without one of them liking the other one, or all crazy stuff going on. Let me tell y'all how important it is to have friends of the opposite sex. They just give you a different perspective. Like, ladies, you are not a man, and men, you are not a lady. And so you don't know. Our minds do work differently. Our entire bodies work differently. So why wouldn't our minds work differently? So they just give you a fresh perspective, a different perspective. They help you understand things in a new way. And then especially like for ladies, a lot of times your girls, they're gonna be letting you do the most, letting you act crazy, and your guy friends will be looking at you like, what's wrong with you? Like, I know so many times Alex, he gets on my nerves, but he will tell me it's not that deep. Like, Taylor, it's not that deep. And I'm always like, well, you know what? Maybe it is. But guys just really kind of like, usually they'll scale you back and be like, look at it. Now look at it and really think about it. But your girls are like, yeah, I don't like that either. And da 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 da. But yeah, you need friends of the opposite sex to give you different perspectives in life. That's so important. Yeah, so we want to classify our friends by like, who fits into what space? Who am I really closest to? Who do I feel the most comfortable with? And who can I, you know, like really show every single part of who I am? Because that won't be all of your friends, no matter how. It won't be. You need all different types of friends. For example, you need, if you are like kind of the, how do I say? I'm about to talk about Jada, y'all. If you are the one that's like, I'm the one that's like, you know, we're gonna do the puzzle, we're gonna like put one piece at a time, we're gonna see what fits. If that one doesn't fit, we're gonna take it out. Jada's the one like, you know what, I'm gonna do this puzzle, but I'm gonna throw all these pieces on here and slide them around, and one, they gonna fit right. If they don't fit right, then oh well, I'm gonna keep sliding them, get it right. So yeah, I guess I would say I'm the more you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna call her. Jada, wait, don't say nothing crazy. So, don't say nothing crazy. I'm in the middle of recording my video. You are not on the camera. I'm in the middle of recording my video, and I need to know how you would describe me versus you. So I told them that I'm the one who, like, if we're putting together a puzzle, then I'm gonna like take one piece at a time and put in that piece. If that one doesn't work, I'm gonna pull that one out. And you're the one, you gonna slide all the pieces on there, slide them around. If it fits, great. If it doesn't, you're gonna keep sliding until it works. So, but I feel like there's a better way to describe the difference. Like, I don't want to say I'm the more put together friend, because that's not necessarily the case. Calculated. Yes. There we go. So yeah, y'all, I'm the more calculated friend, and Jada is the one like, listen, we gonna see. And I'm like, okay, but before we see, we need to see that we see that we see that we see.
No, but it's only one way to find out, and the only way to find out is we couldn't see.
And see, she thinks differently, and so that's why. Okay, thanks, love you, bye.
Bye.
So that's why you need different types of people in your life, like, because sometimes I don't need to be too calculated, you know, just need to go with the flow and let things flow. And sometimes Jada need to be more calculated, so that's when she calls me like, Taylor, let me tell you this, and don't say anything until I'm done, tell me what you think. So it's so important that you have all of those different friends, because they bring balance. So now, since I did start this off by talking about how, you know, there are different times and seasons in our life, I do want to acknowledge shifting seasons. And then, like, as far as like friendships, how should we move like when our friend is shifting into a new season. It's not necessarily something that's tearing you guys' friendship apart, but they're not moving how they normally move, and that kind of, when we're really close to people, that can kind of throw us off. So how do we deal with that? Number one, I think when you recognize that your friend is acting different, the first thing you need to do is step back and say, is this me, or are they really acting different? Once you do that, and yes, they're really acting different, not necessarily in a negative way, they just are moving different. So once you step back and you realize that they are moving different, the next thing that you need to do is talk to them. Don't stay in your own head about your friend and why and how they're moving different. Like, talk to your friend and figure out what's going on, because sometimes they really need that. Sometimes your friends really need you to step in the middle of whatever they have going on and say, hey, I see you. I've noticed you've been acting different. Girl, I want to make sure you're okay. I want to make sure you're good. My nose is itching. I want to make sure you're good. What's going on? And so then when you do that, they may say, they may immediately open up to you and then let you know everything that's going on. And then they may not immediately open up to you and tell you what's going on. They may say, girl, what are you talking about? I don't feel different, nothing's going on. I don't know what you're talking about. And then that's when you pray for them. You step back and you pray for them. You let them know, hey, you know what? If there is something going on, I'm here for you. I just noticed that you were doing this and you don't normally do this or whatever. But you know what? I'm here for you. If you need me, great. If they do open up to you and tell you what's going on, don't be so stuck in what you need from them that in a time where they really need you and in a time where they're most vulnerable, you fail to show up for them. I'm going to say that again. Don't be so stuck on what you need from your friends in a moment when they could really need you just to be there for them. Friendships are not always give and take. Sometimes it's one person giving and one person taking. Sometimes it's one person taking and one person giving. I said the same thing twice, but making sure you get it. And then sometimes you're both giving and taking from each other at the same time. But that's not always the case. And I think we can be very selfish in friendships, and if a person is not giving us what we need in a specific moment, we're immediately ready to cut them off without even trying to understand what could be going on with them. And so that's one thing too. You always want to make sure you're checking in on your friends, because if somebody's moving different or acting different, it's usually more to the picture than you can see. Oh, another thing, we're so close to our friends until we think, oh, well, if something was going on, I would automatically know. Or if this was going on, they would tell me. Or we think that we know everything about them. And y'all, I had a friend, shout out to you, I love you so much, girl. And that's one of my friends that we don't talk. If I call, she ain't gonna answer. But no, I'm totally kidding. But that's one of my friends that we don't really talk that often. But she told me something about herself last year, I believe. And I was around her at the time that this was going on in her life pretty much every day. I would have never known. I would have never known that that had happened to her and that she had gone through that, because she wasn't ready to talk about it. But when she was, she came to me and she told me. And imagine if I had just treated her differently because she was maybe acting really cold or just nonchalant or just not really as present. Imagine if I had treated her differently and she was going through such a traumatic and detrimental point in her life. So that's what I'm talking about. We can be close to people, we can be in their face every day and still not really know the depths of what they're going through. So as a friend, when your friend is going through a different season, make sure you're evaluating all sides of the equation and you're not being an additional problem that they don't need in a difficult season. Now, if you are the friend who is going through a difficult season or just a weird place, in a different place where God might have you isolated, or well, not completely isolated, because God doesn't take you away from everyone, but he just may have you, a little farther back than you would normally be. And he does do that. So he sits you down and he shuts you up for some seasons. If you can, articulate to your friends what's going on. Don't keep them in the dark. They're only concerned about you, and everyone shows concern in different ways. They may get frustrated and whatnot, but it's just because they're really concerned about you, and they're like, I'm not used to my friend moving like this. I don't understand what's going on. So, you know, don't be silent. Like, open up to your friends. But I do understand what it's like to be in a season where you just really can't, you don't even know what's going on. So you really can't express that to someone else. But, you know, as much as you can, try to. And if you can't, break it, you know, that's okay. That's okay. But try to open up to your friends and communicate with them. I'm gonna stop talking for a little while because I don't want this video to be super long, and I need to finish my makeup. Guys, I want y'all to, in the comments, drop and tell me what you guys, like, what do you guys think about rekindling friendships and ending friendships, and how do you guys determine when it's time to end, or if you want to rekindle the friendship. Oh, and I wanted to also give you guys some practical ways to start, because I know, like, even just beginning communication with the person again can be difficult. You can do a phone call, you can text a person, and I always say this: once you reach out and you send the message or you make the call, if they don't respond or something, that's okay. Like, you're doing your part. You don't have to pour out everything. Just say, hey, you know, if you have a chance, whenever you have time, I like to talk. You know, it's simple. I think another big thing is don't overthink it. Like, if it's meant to be, if God wants it to be, then it'll work out. I'm trying not to make these faces, and I'm never realized to, like, we really do all this. makeup is done, as you guys can see by me acting silly. And now I'm gonna do my hair. I don't have much to do because I did get it done the other day. So yeah, I'm gonna play some music while I do this, and let's go. My finished look. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope you found all of the information about friends and relationships to be helpful to you. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what you guys think about everything we talked about today. Tell me your thoughts, tell me your opinions, tell me what topics you want to discuss next time. I love you guys so much. Bye. This is not the finished look. I gotta put on lipstick, oh my gosh. But let that be a surprise in the pictures, because you know, we'll see what I'm gonna do. Love y'all, bye.